Okay, I call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. This is the Wareham Finance Committee, September 11th, 2019. The roll call is Jody, Stuart, Glenn, Bernie, David, and Jerry. We have a quorum. Do we have any citizens here who would like to speak on any issue?
I do.
Yes.
I'm Norma White, Precinct 3, and I just wanted to bring up to the board the citizens petition for a plastic bag reduction.
Oh, well, Norma, you're on the agenda, of course, as we spoke on the phone.
You were so kind to put me on first, and that was like great, thank you.
Well, they accept bribes, that's all.
Go ahead, don't say that. Go
I'm
ahead.
like, don't anybody write that down.
Yeah, don't joke about that.
Okay, the first item on our agenda this evening for hearings is the articles on the town meeting that was closed last evening by the selectmen, is the Article 24, which is a petitioned article, and the title of it is Plastic Bag Reduction Bylaw. And the petitioner is Norma White. Norma, welcome this evening.
Well, thank you very much. I'm wondering how I landed here, but seriously, it had to do with the fact that in February, my rowing club had a documentary film presented called The Plastic Ocean. And it was like a great documentary and very powerful, showing the dire effects of non-biodegradable plastics. And I guess I thought it would be a good idea if we could implement something like that in town. So I had emailed the selectmen, and they thought that the possibility of it being a citizen's petition would have more likelihood of being on the warrant, the fall warrant. So I said, well, that sounds easy. Not. But I figured I'm not reinventing the wheel, so that I went online and I looked up Sierra Club and massgreen.org, and there were tons of information online. So at that point I said, okay, I would try and write something up, and got 72 signatures, and Sierra Club shared the fact sheets on why plastics would, especially polyethylene and the PVC bags, would be better out of the system. And I mean, I could go on about the reasons, but I'm trying to be brief. Basically, our being a coastal community too, the marine wildlife was a big concern. A litter problem, not being a sustainable, non-renewable fossil fuel product, and the microplastics especially. They showed in the documentary like a field that marine life was using as a food source, and it was like the size of Texas. And it's a worldwide problem as well. So, where am I in all this? Thought it was easy. No, that wasn't.
Don't be nervous, feel free.
Yeah, I'm horrible at this. I just went through the facts really quickly. But in July 2019, there were 122 municipalities and towns that had passed a reduction in plastic bag bylaw or ordinance, and a lot of them were Cape towns. And I have neighbors like Plymouth and Bourne that have enacted bans or reduction bylaws. So I think that's about all of them. But I collected 72 signatures, and I feel compelled to keep it moving because I have somewhat of, or I feel somewhat of responsibility to them as well. And I know it's only to get it on the warrant, and the voters will act on it, so I'm aware that this is just a beginning, and the voters will make the decision. So I did get information from the Sierra Club rep out of Brookline, Clint Richmond, and he said that Wareham uses, estimates Wareham uses 7 million plastic bags per year, based on a Sierra Club formula that uses government statistics. that is from their fact sheet, so, I thought it was in our best interest as a coastal community to, do our best to try and make this happen. And I think that, I was saying earlier, I think it would be excellent for every resident in town, mandatory to have to do something like this, because it gives you a totally renewed appreciation of the work that volunteers who serve our town do, because it's like amazingly not up my alley, and I appreciate the fact that it is somebody's niche, so, that's it, I guess.
Thank you. Any questions of the committee? David?
Norma, what has been the impact on towns and the businesses in those towns that have enacted a program like this?
In terms of retail stores, they say that the stores get a fee if they choose to charge for a reusable bag, and the retail store gets to keep that to offset any cost that might be incurred by their establishment. And they also say that the cost of making the plastic bags now is so cheap, no, so expensive, and yet they only get a small percentage back, and it's only 5.2 of those single-use bags that get recycled anyhow. They clog up landfill equipment, and that is a cost to towns too. They're saying that municipalities would more than likely be able to use the money for other uses in town if they didn't have to do some of the work that they do.
Treat the bags. Has it affected the businesses at all as
I
far
don't
as the
believe that
sales?
it's enough of an impact. I think that consumers learn very quickly that they need to use the reusable bags because of the fee.
Mhm.
And they say that if everybody charges the fee, then no business is in competition with somebody who doesn't.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, quick. The fee, when you talk about the fee, is that on the reusable checkout bag?
I believe paper bags or reusable bags, and I think it's minimal, it's like 5 or 10 cents.
So if I were buying groceries, if it's a recyclable paper bag, I would be charged a dime a bag for, is that, you don't understand?
I think there's a fee. I don't, most of the ones that I've seen have been like fabric or a heavier plastic bag.
So there would, for the consumer, there would be a fee for the reusable bag,
Unless they brought their own.
unless you brought your own, which you probably would if you bought when you bring it back.
We're
the next day.
trainable.
Yeah, what's a compost?
Composite?
Compostable?
Compostable?
Yeah, geez, I got hung up on it.
Composite.
And marine degradable plastic bag,
The definitions, like I say, I didn't reinvent the wheel. I went online and I used the Sierra Club's plastic bag reduction bylaws, and they have the definitions all set up. They have the requirements, the penalties, effective dates, and all in their definitions. A marine degradable plastic bag is a bag that conforms to current ASTM D7081 standard specifications.
Hope that helped you.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I knew you were.
I have a question for anyone.
Yes, Tom?
Have you looked into any of the towns that have already done this?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's massgreen.org, has all the towns listed online, and what their specifications are, and what their ordinances
I
are.
understand that, but have we actually contacted the town? I mean, I did hear like one town that was a fiasco, you know, I didn't know.
I think some are better than others.
Right. But I remember when they first started it, you know, it was like,
In 2012.
yeah, they didn't do it, you know.
And they've had revised bylaws since then, particularly in Brookline.
Yeah, that's a town that had a lot of trouble. I read about it.
And
Yeah, when I first
Brewster, this Clint Richmond from Sierra Club says Brewster is a very good model to go by. And then he said some of the older ones is not, and sometimes it's based on the thickness of the plastic bag that they allowed originally.
Okay.
Anything else? Just Norma, I would appreciate, I'll go on mass.org and see if we have some more information there, but also, your proposal is very brief. And there's an extraordinary number of restrictions, et cetera, that could be encompassed in it, that I'm sure would be a party to the bylaw in total. And you may encounter some questions because of the lack of that information.
Okay. So more specific information?
Yes, as you point out, that
Regarding-
there are other towns that have enacted a bylaw,
Yes.
and the brevity of yours is about 3 lines here, and I'm sure they go on for pages, perhaps.
Did you get the Sierra Club plastic bag reduction bylaw included in the packet?
It may be included in the packet, it's not included in your proposal in your article. And the information is out there, we can all look at the information, but when you
No,
get
I thought
there...
I had. I'm really very bad at this.
No, we're dealing just with what they proposed, that is on the warrant, that was accepted by the selectmen, and it is, as I said, just a 3-line paragraph.
Is that above, the paragraph above all the signatures?
No,
This is what's gonna be
Because I know
printed
that
on
was
the
very
warrant.
this is the warrant article in its entirety that
Oh,
they accepted last night.
well, that's not what I had.
That, when you fill out, in writing a warrant article, what she had at the top is what gets inserted in the warrant. So what you had above the signatures is the warrant article. My suggestion might be that you might want to do a handout. And if you want to give me a call, I can walk you through some suggestions, as Bernie was saying.
It's above the signatures.
Yeah, but that's not it, it's not all here.
I thought there were 2 pieces to it. I thought there was a piece with the
Yeah, but it's
signatures.
not,
And then there was
There was
a
type-
motion
It's not
from the
allowed.
Board of Selectmen that I needed to use the guidelines for the town warrant. But I can meet you about that and straighten it out.
Just one other issue, is that in the first line, it says, as defined in section 1, in our conversation on the phone, you indicated that you use the Sierra Club and they referred to section 1. Section 1 in, should have a reference to section 1 of what?
Okay.
And it's Mass General Laws, Part 1, Title 9, Chapter 64, H, Section 1, which is definitions. And in your definitions, it clarifies just what a retail establishment is.
Okay.
And that's the reference. Because you say to see if the town will vote that any retail establishment as defined in Section 1,
Right.
or the source of your definition.
Okay.
Because it could have been Section 1 of the Sierra bylaws, but you want Section 1 of the Mass General Laws.
Mass General Laws. Okay, you did mention that. We'll see if I can find that out. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else, gentlemen? No, nothing else. Anyone else have any questions? No, Norma, thank you very much.
You're almost welcome.
If you feel free to call the moderator or myself if you need any more information or guidance. We'll try to help you. Because you're a petitioned article, you can't use the resources of the town itself, town council, or et cetera, to assist you. It's just in the Mass General Laws, they have a separation of that.
Okay.
But we'll gladly assist you, advise you what you need to do, give you some advice and help.
All right, I need it.
Petitioning is something that puts everybody on edge, and it's really not just,
It's a learning
you're a
experience.
citizen and you have a right to ask for something, and this is your method of doing it.
Mm-hmm. Won't happen again.
But thank you again, Norma, for coming this evening.
You're welcome. Thank you for your kind attention.
Next item on our agenda is, we'll do the CPC. Hey Sandy, how are you? Saw you sneak in.
Sandy Slavin, co-chair and treasurer of CPC.
Okay,
We have petitioners from 2 of the 4 articles, so it depends on which one you want to deal with
Well,
first of the 4.
why don't we dispose with the easiest one first, which is just you and your co-chair.
Okay,
Return of unused funds from completed projects.
yes.
You have the auditorium roof, the Agawam Community Preservation Affordable Housing Reserve Fund, auditorium roof, Father Bill's, the onset boat ramp, and the historic map.
Yes. Those have all been deemed completed, and we want the extra leftover money to come back into CPC. So we had a look at where the money was first designated from, and they returned them to that fund.
Pretty straightforward.
Which is why part of it, the Agawam Unit 5 goes back to Affordable Housing Reserve, and everybody else goes to undesignated, because that's how they were issued. And there was a question on the article for Father Bills. I gave you, David, the warrant that shows it was number 15.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else need this?
No, that's what, one of the issues I'm trying to find for us, gentlemen, because there's several articles that have reference to previous town meeting articles, and we're just recovering the funds, and I was looking for copies of the motions that were made, that were thrown up on the screen as to what we approved, so you can see the source of it and the
I
actual.
believe I put that in my motion.
You did.
No, it was just info. Well,
Oh, no,
you
it's
did
in my
put-
motion to see
Correct.
how
I
it
was
was
looking for the
originated.
article itself
Yeah,
when
it's a
we
spring
initially voted
15,
for it,
spring of
so that we'd be
11.
aware of how much money was initially appropriated, that was all. It was for our own information. It was not something that was missing from the
Okay.
article. It is a total of some $60,500.
That's what it comes up to, yep.
Mhm.
So every town meeting time, we take a look at what we have for open projects that have been completed and ask for the funds to be returned.
And you've confirmed that all have been appropriately completed.
Yes, we have supporting email from the people who did the work.
It's all about 60,000. 57,000 alone from one article.
70,000.
Want to do it quick?
Well, 13 and 57 is
70
70,
and change.
and change is 500.
So we have 57,
57,001 and 13,000,
undesignated,
yeah, it's 70,000.
and 13,384 for the affordable housing reserves.
Yeah. It's math, and I'm new to the finance committee, so.
Yeah, so, yep. The roof came in a lot, auditorium roof came in under what they expected. The Father Bills was we had returned the funds at the prior town meeting, but a grant had been received, they put it in there, and I'm asking for the grant money to come back into CPC.
Mhm.
The onset boat ramp was completed, and that's $2,500 left over. The Unit 5 was an office converted to a affordable unit, and that's the 13,000 left over. And the historic district mapping is completed, and that's 16,000 left over.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions? I just want to remind everyone, these are hearings, so we don't take any votes. And typically, we have a choice at the end whether or not we want to, when the hearings are closed. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Sandy. Moving on, Article 14 is the Shangri-La Playground.
Okay, that's sponsored, that was done by Mr. Sullivan in the Open Space Committee, and I'm the chairman of the Open Space Committee, and we have Carol Mollison, who is the lead on the Shangri-La, so if she can come up and have a seat up there, you can ask her questions regarding the particular project.
when I was printing it out, the geographical area, that playground services an awful lot of homes up there, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, sir. Over 1,500.
Oh, you have the floor.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot of things done that aren't done the way they normally would be. There was specific equipment I wanted. When we first got the proposal from Premier Park and Play, when I looked it over, the amount of equipment that was gonna go into the playground for approximately $120,000, including the build, was like, I can do better than that, I can do more with the money. So I got a separate estimate from him for just building the equipment I gave him a list of. And he said the build itself would cost approximately $35,000 to $40,000 at prevailing wages if it was built in 2020. I then told him who I wanted the equipment from, sent him pictures of everything and all the details, and drew up a map that showed how we could lay it out in a 100 by 100 square foot area that everything would fit based on the footprint. And he got back to me and said, they are not part of combis. So I can't purchase their equipment because you have to purchase through combis. So he sent me another proposal with different pictures that his manufacturers put together, and it's like, that's still not good enough for a playground that will service enough kids. So I called, the catalog I'd originally used came from Summit Supply, which I got from municipal maintenance. So I called Summit Supply and asked them if they would be willing to join combis. And the secretary put me right through to the owner, who, after hearing what we were doing, within 2 hours had registered with combis and sent me his vendor number. Also told me he would give us a bigger discount than the catalog prices. So if you would like to see what I am proposing for the playground for equipment and the estimate of the cost of it that I received when I sent him everything I wanted. There is a large 5 to 12 structure, a small 2 to 5, a climbing net, an 8-foot merry-go-round, not in purple and yellow. Everything will be green and tan. 4-seat seesaw, 4-bay swing set for the older kids, a 3-bay for the smaller kids, the 2 to 5, toddlers with an ADA seat, basketball posts, bike rack, 3 benches, 3 picnic tables. And when I got his estimate back, he knocked off almost the entirety of the shipping cost. He took off $7,027, which is 10% of the cost in the catalog. So he's very excited. I also put everything out to different paving contractors because we had a gentleman in the neighborhood that wanted to help. I also contacted Clover Paving and McDuffie's, and Bob McDuffie was thrilled. He underbid the guy from the neighborhood whose son lives there. They have all agreed to move the basketball court, tear everything up, reinstall a whole new court where we want it, facing north to south instead of east to west like it does now. And this includes the disposal of all materials for under $11,000. So I've been grinding everybody. Because you don't talk to the guy that's gonna come out and write the estimate for the company. You talk to the head of the company, and if you're nice to him, you can get somewhere. So yesterday, I got a proposal from Monster Tree Service, who wants to do like an in-kind type donation, and they will have a crew there and do all the tree removal we need removed to widen the driveway and open up the space, clear away some of the debris so you have better visibility, with volunteers from the neighborhood. And they will provide t-shirts, they will do the tree cutting and removal, the neighbors will be allowed to take firewood if they choose. But when you look at the number of trees we really should take down to open this space up a little bit better, make it less likely of damage happening, they're offering us a very good deal. And when I get done with him, I will also go to Pontiac Tree Service and a couple of others and say, okay, who's gonna give us, you know, the best deal so that we're getting $20,000 worth of stuff done for nothing by volunteers and people that are willing to help our community. And they are willing to help if you ask. You just can't be afraid to ask.
No,
So,
this playground has existed at that site for years, and it became so bad that Carol worked municipal maintenance, and they tore down all the other wooden play structures that existed because they were just so bad.
oh, they were horrible.
And CPA funds were used to take the old equipment away because they were deemed a safety hazard. So we used some of our playground safety money for that, but the area has been clean. One of the things we have to deal with is we have 2 stormwater drains draining into that play area. So it becomes a puddle. So one of the projects that we'll have, once working with an engineering company, is how to handle the stormwater drains, and whether or not it means a rain garden or whatever it is, but we can't continue to have the drainage coming into that site when we're gonna build it as a playground. So that's one of the things that must be corrected before work is done at that site. We've got to allow for better handling of that stormwater.
You have that in here, yeah.
Yes, so
Yes,
that's
and-
just one of the components of it, is the play equipment, the basketball court, a pavilion, picnic tables, picnic benches.
Security.
And the pavilion, I haven't even got the builders.
Yeah, I mean,
Estimate
so
on the pavilion
there's
yet.
still work in progress for our estimate, but the best thing we could come with, knowing we have some funds identified, is looking for $220,000. We don't use it all, and we'll come back to CPC, but it doesn't hurt to ask for a little bit more, because we don't quite have numbers hard on all the components that make up what will become a playground.
Now, what kind of an organization do you have formed?
Well, we actually have a neighborhood, what started the whole thing was our neighborhood watch. It's the Shangri-La White Island Shores Neighborhood Watch. We currently have 512 members. So they keep an eye on what's going on because we're isolated, we have issues. So what got everything going was we held a cookout. That was a potluck cookout, and everybody cooked and everybody came. And we invited the Board of Selectmen, and we invited the police department, we invited the state police, which were unfortunately unable to attend, the fire department, municipal maintenance, so that they could come and see, because nobody comes to Shangri-La unless they're visiting somebody. And nobody's going down to the playground because it's a hole. It's bad. And we also invited the newspapers.
And this was a wise move to bring in their neighborhood, to bring in the various components that will have to say yay and nay to the project to get their support. And then Carol came up and joined the Open Space Committee and has been driving this project since she joined the committee.
Now, is the Open Space Committee going to be the recipient of these funds and overseeing the construction work?
It is going to the town of Wareham. It was up to Mr. Sullivan to say who oversees the project. But the grant request was for Mr. Sullivan/Open Space. Since it's town-owned property, only Mr. Sullivan can submit the grant request.
Yep.
Who he designates to oversee, that's up to him. When we did the Lukey Playground, Open Space worked with, an Open Space member worked with the vendors and stuff like that to make it happen, and I would expect Carol would do the same thing for Shangri-La.
Oh, yeah.
When we did it for Oakdale, Open Space oversaw the project. That was before it was required to be done by the town, but this is Open Space's 3rd playground, so we've got some history of succeeding, and so Carol will be driving this particular project underneath Open Space.
Okay.
And I kind of don't quit. I think Jerry can attest to that.
Oh, yeah. But I do have a question.
Certainly, go ahead.
Do you have to go before any of our committees here, like the planning for a site plan review or the conservation, because you're cutting trees? And it's like,
No, because there's no water
No
table
flood
there,
zone.
we're well above the water table. The only issue we have with drainage is because it's street runoff, and it's just the way, over time, it's just worn out, and it just pools into the bottom of the bowl. So we need to address how that water is redirected, so it's not gonna go in the middle of the playground.
And I'm sure the planning department will give us, is the one we would go to. Not
Right.
zoning, not planning, but the planning department, because the playground already existed. So it's not a new use of that land, but we would
Right.
have to have building permits.
You probably mentioned it, how many children do you think or young adults will be using it?
Do you remember what the numbers
I
were?
forgot
that I
what we
gave you?
came up with. We came up with some large numbers, 1,500 homes. It's not uncommon to have,
Yeah, twice as many children as there are.
half of
It's
those homes
reasonable
have
to
twice.
say,
You know, I
It's
see school
growing.
buses
I mean,
every day.
Yes,
Yeah.
there are a lot of new families moving in that are young families with children. I mean, I have a 1-year-old next to me and a 7-year-old across the street from me, and now I've got 3 more on this side next to me that are all under 12, and they've all just appeared in the last 2 years.
But this is a where.
So it's a growing
yeah,
area.
This is a section of Wareham that hasn't had anything like this. You had the Lukey, you have the onset Lopes and Hammond activity, you have Oakdale. So this was a section of Wareham that was so remote, there wasn't a playground close to them. I mean, you're talking miles.
Kids don't have access to a nearby
No,
playground.
there's nothing within walking distance. They can't go behind the library and use a Ruta. I mean, there isn't anything there for them.
You had 7-Eleven parking lot.
Right. And I mean, technically, we had the playground for the drug dealers because it's isolated.
Exactly.
You drive down into it and nobody can see anything, and we intend to fix that.
Yeah.
It's currently gated off.
Municipal maintenance put gates on it.
They put gates up for me, and that's part of the fencing estimate, is also to gate the top of the park. And currently, there are 2 residents that have a key, myself and Corey Tripp, who's also on open space. Municipal maintenance has a key, the police department has a key, and the fire department all have keys.
Yeah.
So if they need to get in, if they forget their key, they know I live 2 doors down. When they showed up to tear down the playground equipment, I couldn't get down there fast enough to open that gate for them to remove that equipment because they responded so quickly.
And the
That's the only access.
the
is for
Shangri-La
car.
Playground has been mentioned in at least 3 open space and recreation plans that it needed work. And one of the things they recommended is that access be granted off of Sunset, the top of the hill there. So
Sunset
one of the
and
things we're
Westwood.
talking about is putting in some type of path that allow the people on that side of the park to come down the hill and utilize the play
Right,
area.
like if we put in a tiered stairway,
Mm.
so that you can get down with a stroller without trying to roll a stroller down 400 steps. You know, if you tier it, you can roll a stroller
Yeah.
down there, and then you don't have to come in by car. If you don't have a car, you can walk. The neighborhood is small enough to walk the entire thing. It's 3 miles if you zigzag every road in that section.
But it has been recognized by the town document Open Space for at least 3 versions of that as a need for the community to have a play area.
I personally think you're missing the biggest
What's the
selling
biggest?
point, is your security cameras are gonna be.
Yes, Higgins Security is willing to install security cameras. They'll have to be solar powered because we can't expect the town to pay for power cameras as well as security lights. That will link not only from the playground to a specific DVR, it will go to the fire station on Glen Charlie Road, be transmitted into microwave and sent directly to the police station. So if the lights come on, the cameras come on, or there's motion in the playground, the cameras are gonna come on. And if there's vandalism, if there's drug activity, if there's anything going on that shouldn't be, it's gonna be captured, and they can go back and look at that footage.
And the
And-
police have agreed to it.
Oh, yeah, they were the ones that came up with the plan on how to, you know, how to link it so that the police station could have instant access to it.
Outstanding.
So that, you know, that's another resident that's willing to put money in. I'm sure there will be costs incurred because these are not hardwired cameras. Those are fairly reasonably priced. Solar powered are gonna be more expensive. But it's not gonna be like going out and buying them at Best Buy. You know, he's gonna give us a much better deal.
Is there power there?
No.
There's no electricity
No.
on it?
And I don't
Sometimes
believe
no
there's
power
even a light
company will do
pole.
that for nothing too.
But then the town would have to pay the electric bill, and that's
No,
kind of
sometimes the
unfair.
electric company, you know, they
Well,
might
it
do it
never-
if there was power
it
poles
never
there,
ends.
if there's no power poles there, and you can't ask, you know.
Right.
But there was electricity poles there.
Well, at some time there
Time
had to be
ago.
electricity because there was a well, because they had a drinking fountain in that playground. The kids all remember the
But
fountain
it's
with
not,
a,
it's pressurized through the water line.
Yeah.
what, no, it was before we had town water. It was a well. So there has to be power running into the playground somewhere.
Somebody
but
to look into
The
that.
cost of finding it, when they tried to find my well, they couldn't even find my well. So, solar power is probably the smartest way to go. It'll be a little more expensive on the front end, but it'll last longer. LED lighting, they put in a new LED light right in front of my house. I love that light, that street light is awesome. I can see, I couldn't see my hand this close to my face, it was that dark on my front porch. Now, I can see my whole yard, you know, so LED's the way to go, it's very cheap to operate and holds the light a lot longer with solar. So that, I haven't even started looking into the lighting yet. That's, you know, everything's been focused on getting what I need to get on the warrant.
I'm chuckling at how aggressive you've been and successful in getting everything else, and someone should warn Eversource that you're about to call them.
They probably should, but you know, it seems I make friends that way, so that's probably a good thing.
But who's gonna wanna wait on hold for 30 minutes to tell them that she's calling?
Oh, I don't,
No,
I
sorry.
don't wait on hold.
Well, like the Shangri-La's had a long wait for this, and I'm looking at the printout I have of all the homes. It's unfortunate there isn't a second location because they're so densely populated up there.
Yes,
And the types of homes are conducive to young families.
yes, yes. And kids need to play outside. It's good for their development, their entire lives.
That would be new.
Yeah,
Playing
yeah,
outside.
it'd be kind of like going back to the way things were when I was a kid.
Right.
You played outside all day, you came in when the streetlights came on. Sometimes you went home for supper, but
Those
not
are the
always.
days.
Yes.
They don't even know what we're
Right.
talking about.
No, they look at you like, you know, you're from another planet. They have no idea what it is to drink out of a garden hose. It's like, how can you not know what it's like to drink out of a hose? You know, so you teach them.
And it used to be any hose, you just walked up to any house and turned it on.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Now they say it's dangerous.
Well, hey, dirt is good for you. You should eat a pound of dirt every year.
I do.
It's good for you.
I got that beat.
Yes, you
Yeah.
do.
Now, have you spoken with municipal maintenance regarding, because obviously, we need a playground there. We had a playground, it was not maintained.
Right.
I know at Lukey, there's a very strong community effort to keep that going, to develop it. I know you're very strong in doing it. You said you did get the neighborhood watch group involved, but it would be appropriate to get a group that's dedicated to
Well, we
the...
do also have a playground committee.
You do.
But as far as, it's really hard to delegate, can you do this? I'm home. If I wasn't home full-time, I would not be able to do what I'm doing. Most of them are young people who work and have children. You know, it's me and my husband. I need something to do, so I just stir the pot and make things happen.
No, that's great.
But there are people that are willing to, you know, go down, they're doing it now, they go down, they mow the grass that's in there, they, you know, weed whack, they rake, they pull
pick up
out
trash.
brush. Well, yeah, we pick up trash when it gets trashed, which does happen. So there are people that are absolutely willing to help with keeping it clean, as far as being carry in, carry out. We took a barrel down there because the only ones using it at the time were the basketball players. And with no barrel, they'd just leave their water bottles on the side of the court. We put a barrel and I put a bag in it, and I didn't find a damn bottle on the ground. They used the barrel. So I'd go down once a month and grab the bag out of it and throw it out with my trash. So if you give them something to put it in, they will. But kids, if they have like one of the lunch programs delivered in the summertime, and the kids had no place to throw their trash, and the lunch lady would leave, so she didn't have her vehicle, so they'd leave it. An 11-year-old boy told them, that's not acceptable, don't leave your garbage. We can walk right down to Carol's and put it right in one of her barrels, because her husband does the litter pickup. They don't want it on the ground, they'll pick it up. My husband goes down and helps me clean all the time to make sure it's clear, because we had some vandalism with kids breaking glass, and that was a very ugly day, but the neighborhood is willing to take care of what needs to be taken care of. It's not hard to get people to do it.
And that's one of the big things that we push with open space too, before we even start looking at one, is to know that there is some community involved.
Yes, it has to be.
Yeah,
It
because
has
we
to be,
understand
that's
that
very
municipal
important.
maintenance is stretched thin, and
Oh,
Very, very
yes,
important.
very, very, stretched very, very thin. But they've been very good, like when I asked them to take that equipment out, the driver of the truck was so excited, he was like a big kid, he couldn't wait to start pulling all that stuff out of it, because it was showing that we were getting something done, we were moving forward, the kids were gonna get a playground, was the way he saw it, was, this is gonna happen, because this is horrible, I mean, split open metal, broken, and it was pressure treated. I wouldn't want
not
that.
the good kind either.
Oh, no, you know, that's arsenic, that's not good.
No, it's very good. We have some people in various town departments who are very dedicated to the town and want to see the town improve. We have folks like you and other organizations that are working very hard, and you don't get enough credit. You really don't. So, thank you.
Well, you're welcome, it's important.
Any other questions, Jody?
A couple requests and a comment or two. Both these next two, I'm new to Wareham, so I drove up to see what we were talking about.
Did you find it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, well, I didn't even know where Shangri-La was, and somebody had to tell me, but it's all good. Which leads me, even if he drew it on the back of a napkin, I'm kind of a map, I don't know what the old one looked like, because everything's gone, playground stuff, just kind of what it's gonna look like, just to give me an idea.
Well, that I haven't been able to do because I am a terrible artist to start
Well,
with.
I am too,
I
but I'm
draw-
saying, if it's a real hardship, that's fine, I'm just trying to,
Did you
focus.
did you see what it used to look like?
no.
I can show you what it used to
Oh,
look like.
I heard enough to say that,
Yeah. it is
in
ugly.
before town meeting, again, to visualize, some kind of a budget, not etched in concrete, I get it, you get volunteers and people giving things, but just, this is what we think it's gonna cost, it might cost a little more, it might cost a little less, but just, town meeting, I think would like to see that also, just a ballpark figure, I'm not,
Well, I think the difficulty right now is that there's no engineering that's been done, so they
Yeah.
don't know where things can be located, so it would be hugely speculative at this point.
yeah, I mean, sometimes, I know I'm one that can it's easy to
Yeah.
visualize
Yeah.
things sometimes.
An artist
You can
rendering
sit there
would be
and talk
helpful.
about that, whatever it may be. And the other thing, I was in shock when I saw the price of this, because I came from a town, I can tell you, they spent about $600,000 on a playground. Bernie knows exactly where it is. And security, and it's been mentioned, is huge. I mean, you just can't have enough this day and age,
Right,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
But thank you for all you did. I mean, towns are lucky to have folks like you, that's for sure.
Well,
Thank you.
it's community effort.
Yep.
you know?
Somebody's gotta lead it though.
Well, yeah.
They don't say somebody's gotta take the bull by the horns.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
I've been known to do that.
No? Nothing. Carol, thank you very much for your dedication and your energy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go take a nap.
Yeah, I have to be up at 3:30, I have to go to Boston for 4:30, so. Yeah, well, I have to
You'll
be,
beat the traffic.
Yeah.
yes, I will, in and out of that airport.
Next item is still CPC. Article 15 is the William Youth Soccer Fields in Westfield. You guys are up bordering Plymouth.
Yes, we are, Carver.
Sure.
Carver, excuse me.
I'm
You have
Bob
the floor.
Terrius, the president of Wareham Youth Soccer. Paul Neely's on the board as the travel director. We're asking for $40,000 for community preservation, from community preservation, to improve and enhance the Westfield Athletic Facility. About a year ago, we signed an agreement with the town to use, I'm gonna say half the field, the other half is Wareham softball. So we have that agreement, we've started working on it, but we need a little help just to enhance the fields, to make them playable. One of the issues there is there's no parking around that field, so we went in and we're in the process of creating a parking area down the middle of the field. We've taken field space, we need about 100 cars. So some of the money will go towards that for security, or safe parking for the kids in the cars, and a security gate to get in there. We're also looking for help, we have a storage facility, but a storage shed, but we'd like to improve that and some soccer equipment, so we can get in there and hopefully play in the fall of 2020. We've had, since last October, all our the volunteers have been in there working on it. We've spent about $10,000 our own money, just getting in there and starting to work on the field. We've had about $10,000 of in-kind support. A couple of cranberry companies, Slocum and Gibbs and Beaton Cranberry, came in and helped us out, clear some land for us, clear some of the field areas for us. We've had some other in-kind support.
And if you guys know the area at all, and you've seen the progress that they've made, they've done a phenomenal job.
We run leagues, spring and fall. We have recreation leagues in town, co-ed, and then we also have travel teams that travel throughout the South Coast area. We support about 300 kids from age 4 through 18. We also have other towns, in our travel league, other towns come to Wareham to play here as well. Yeah, we've made good strides so
Yes, you
far.
have.
I have a question, Bernie.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Through you, Bernie. It says that you feel the project's gonna cost $70,000, but you're only asking for 40. Where's the other 30 coming from?
We've in-kind support and just our registration fees and fundraising that we've done.
You
And
feel
we've
that-
spent we spent around 20,000 already.
And you feel that that 30,000 is within your reach, or, I mean, you only asked for 40, I mean,
Yes.
thank you for being, you know, I guess, reasonable with your request, but you don't wanna, you know, if you have a goal in mind, you don't wanna fall short either.
Correct, yeah. No, we're comfortable with those numbers.
Yeah, CPC asked them if they wanted more.
That's-
CPC
gonna say,
did, yes.
I've never seen a number here,
That was
you
my
know,
first question.
70, they only asked for 40. I was expecting to see 70 for 70, you know what I mean? It is
Sounds
what it is,
reasonable.
Bertie, it is what it is.
It didn't.
Well, part of that 70 is what we've spent already.
No, I-
Time and
I just asked the question.
Jody?
Kind of the same thing, thank you for all that you do for the, first, is that 300 kids in the spring and 300 kids in the fall, or is that combined the 2 seasons?
2 seasons. Spring is usually 200.
That's all right,
you
I'm
know,
just
and the
curious.
fall's
Yeah.
150.
And the same thing, I saw your utility trailer up there sitting on the ground, but again, a map, kind of what you're looking to do, you know, so, again, somebody took some graph paper and drew it out, kind of give me an idea.
Did you guys get our
Dominic, can
proposal?
you pass that around?
Absolutely.
That is the.
Oh, you've already got it?
Yeah, it came in the proposal to
Oh, okay.
CPC, an outline of the 5 fields that they were working on.
You can't stop Bob from drawing.
Well, why'd you talk to the young lady?
I know,
Later.
I have copies here, they're not in color.
That's
Not in
fine.
color.
No, I apologize. There's some field plans in there, and we'll run it in the front in the sketch. In the back, there's some pictures of what it was.
There's a preliminary budget in here.
Preliminary budget of what we've
Perfect,
done.
thank you. That's,
How long have you been having the youth soccer?
1986.
1986.
Is that the county?
I've not been here too long.
Yep. No, that's great.
Any other questions, concerns?
well, the answer to the small fields for the little kids, I didn't expect you to have run down a full-size football.
No,
Soccer
we
field.
make different
Yeah,
sizes.
yeah.
Have you been encountering an increase in popularity of the sport as you've gone on for the season per season?
It fluctuates. We've been up to 500 at one time, now we're down to around 250 right at the moment. It fluctuates.
You get someone from the Revolution to come over and perk things up a bit?
Sometimes we do, yeah. We make field trips to the Revs games
Oh, great.
with the kids.
Kids will like that.
Yep.
Good. Anything else, gentlemen? Thank you very much again for your
Thank you.
energy and your dedication.
Thank you guys, you're welcome.
You got one more for us.
Yes, indeed. The interest payment on the Tremont Dale. What happened to the principal?
I don't think it's been bonded. This is what, all I can tell you, this is what I have from Mr. Foster, is the interest payment. You'd have to speak to him as to, because I asked him, is there any principal and interest? And all he did was say, this is the interest.
So-
Interesting.
Basically, you tell us it's an
Just-
interest-only payment, so the
Right.
principal doesn't go down?
Not yet. It's coming. It's coming.
So it's Christmas.
I know, but, I mean, I honestly, this
A
is,
prince,
you would have
nothing
to ask
against you,
Mr.
but,
Foster.
all right, but an interest-only loan never goes away.
This, I
You
think
just
it's,
pay and pay and pay.
I think this is just a first year type thingy waiting for the bond unless
You know
somebody.
anything else?
It's a ban down, it's very common when we do projects, we borrow money, it's a ban first, where you pay interest only, and then it gets converted.
Oh, well, that's what I want to know. I mean, this has been,
It most likely has not been converted yet. When it's converted, then you make your principal plus interest.
but it's also
It's not unusual to go a year or more
payment
before it gets
upon
converted.
approval.
No.
Okay, so it's only since the fall of 2018, so it hasn't been that long.
So
Okay, all
It's
right,
less than a year, and that's pretty normal.
all right.
And to be honestly, we're
I
just
can live with
now,
that.
we're just now getting bills for the project. I think I just approved a 400,000 and another 50,000.
No, it's 360.
I think we have about a $600,000 have been paid on the project. So it's still work in progress.
It's only a year, so.
But this is, again, I asked Mr. Foster, and this is what he provided me with the, and I don't think it's due right away, but I'd rather have
I-
it done and approved, so when it does come due,
I didn't see that the bond approval was only 2018, the fall, so we're only talking the first year, so I suppose that that's acceptable. Until they make up their mind what they're gonna do. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? There being none, thank you very much.
done? Okay.
Very good.
We were hoping to do the harbor services, but Gary called me
It's a million,
yesterday or the day before, I believe,
it's a million boys.
and advised me that his vacation started today, and he was on a plane to California.
Okay.
Interest on 1,430,000.
One of the issues
So that's about,
that, I want to suggest, because we have to go through the writing of our warrant as we present at the town meeting and all.
this is the fall.
And last town meeting, we each took a turn
8%.
reading into the record the motion for the articles.
14.
This time I'd like to take it a step further and ask that each of you, and we'll pull either names out of a hat or I'll assign them, will write the complete article, including the finance committee recommendation.
Maybe write the complete article.
Write the finance committee recommendation. Yeah, the warrant and the article's already written for us, but it will go in that area. And I think, and then David and I will, of course, proof them. We don't want a Reader's Digest, but in Ernest Hemingway, we don't want either. And a flat yes or no is not acceptable.
Hey, boss.
You know, but you don't want somebody that might be a no vote writing something that the rest of the committee, let's say it's a 6-2 vote, I'm just throwing a number out there.
No, that
You
would
don't
be,
want that, one of those twos,
no, that would be unfair to the individual.
so drawing them out of a hat might
Yeah,
not be
it
that.
has to be,
So just vote against.
has to be a positive motion, unless the committee itself has a majority vote in the negative. And then that, and we have a responsibility to tell town meeting as to why. And you put your name at the bottom of it so they'll know who to hang. No, it'll be anonymous, it'll all go into the finance committee. If you had an opportunity to read through the warrant, is there anything that you want or found that you need for information? I'm hoping, as I mentioned earlier, to get a copy of the original motion as it was read into the record, so we would have an idea for these articles that are, have a balance that we're transferring out, at least we know what the original appropriation was, so we just, for our own information, just an FYI, it's nothing else. So I'll dig them out. It seems that the The only record we can find thus far is in the hands of those who didn't throw anything away.
Well, this is gonna be the easiest thing we've done in years.
It is only
It's
20.
gonna be the easiest thing we've done in years.
Yeah,
In my opinion, this is
So there's-
nothing, it's too simple.
indeed. There's a couple, they're all housekeeping,
It's,
and I don't think there's
this
any.
is the simplest town meeting I've seen in a long, long
Bernie,
time.
can you just go through the articles and say which ones you're gonna have somebody here and which we can do without
The-
person? That way, I think we can set an agenda for the next,
The feasibility study, that's for the police. We'll review that. The special legislation, we'll review that briefly because apparently, and I'm not sure of the details, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to Derek about this. I think I've seen this once before, a long time ago, and it may be somewhere contractually that her pension or medical benefits, I think the cost of medical or missile insurance, some reason or other had expired, or somewhere there's a weird line item that interferes with that, the continued recipient or receiving those benefits, so that's what,
That's been in town meeting before. This
has
is-
it, yeah,
Yes.
It's not, nothing special.
no,
It's been in, like a routine thing.
indeed. Approve and fund the capital plan. We
That
have-
might be something we want.
Oh, indeed, we will, of course.
Okay. could be
Transfer of
on
free
top.
cash for the stabilization and the Plymouth OPEB, that's something we typically do. It's a matter of policy for the percentage that we submit or we vote into, and depends, the moderator may want that as a, just to pass on, the FY19 unpaid bills, not sure about that. We haven't had any report back from DOR as where our, well, no, unpaid bills, if they don't have the invoice in 30 days after the close of June 31st, it becomes an unpaid bill, and we have to go through the annual. The PEG access receipts, that's a housekeeping issue, we're required to do that. Union contracts, I'm not aware of any that have been settled, but the solar pilot agreement, we've seen that, those things before, but of course, we must take an interest in it. The McKinney-Vento funds from the school department, that's again another housekeeping issue. The money has to be placed in a revolving fund, and then into a fund, but it has to go into the revolving fund in order to be used. And so that's a housekeeping. And the closeout of a number of articles, we'll go through that with the school department, of course. Transfer of funds from the harbor services permits, we'll review that. We had it tonight, but we couldn't do it. The onset period debt payment, that'll be all inclusive. We are covering those issues, the harbor services. Return of unused funds, another one. No, excuse me, that was CPC. The Shangri-La, we've heard.
Next three, yeah.
15 and 16, we heard this evening. Amend the bylaw for commercial uses, that's with planning board. 18 is again amendment of a zoning bylaw. 19 is amending the zone bylaw. Article 20, updated zoning bylaw. Do you want to review those?
20, you think?
yeah, I would agree with 20.
20? The other 17, 18, and 19. Do you want to, there's zoning
17
bylaws,
and
you'll have
18, yeah.
hearings and the like.
Yeah.
We typically have a prime interest in anything financial, and it's by our choice that we see anything that is not.
I have watched these and I don't,
Yeah.
my opinion, there's nothing financial.
That's why I emailed you about just referring to town meeting. I mean, that would be the stand I personally would take,
Okay,
you know.
anyone disagree with that? Nope, then it'll be just 20, I would ask. Ken, I'm sure he probably has another night free. I think that poor guy's, every time you turn the TV on, he's sitting there. Okay, the Article 21 is borrowing the $350 for the septic loan program. That is an issue where you can borrow, if you have the attached to sewerage, you can borrow the money from the town, charging an interest, and the town administrators the loan.
Is
On
this
the
something the
taxes.
sewer commissioners would have reviewed?
I would
No,
hope
because
so.
it's septic, isn't it? Doesn't affect the sewer.
Septic, so
septic,
it's
I'm-
sewer.
yeah.
Septic, yeah.
Septic loan program. Well, it's my assumption as I read into it, that it's people, oh, wait a minute,
It's an annual
Yeah,
article that
this
comes
is a
up.
housekeeping.
It's always on there.
septic system. Yeah, you have borrowing value, you can fix it. Okay.
Gonna have under taxes, so many years.
Yes.
Borrow money, that kind of thing, it's always on
Yeah,
there.
I was thinking of another loan program, which is sewerage. Establish a stormwater management and illicit discharge law. That would have to do, I think, with the stormwater management is, when we went on the review, the tour guy mentioned the difficulties they were dealing with I&I. And they're getting involved in the public and private sewers. I would take an interest in it. I don't think it's many, but I
I
think,
think we should hear about it.
yes. And the funding request for improvements, again, Guy was mentioning when he saw the lagoons, he
We
wanted
should
to
hear.
cover them.
We should hear that.
Yeah,
It's
when,
big money.
and the difficulty with it's about $10 million. Putting a building over the top is one thing, but you have to put an air handling system into it. And that's what rings up the bells, rings up the dollars.
He's asking to appropriate $1 million, so we ought to hear it.
Yes, most definitely. And of course, you've already heard the plastic bag.
That ain't gonna pass.
Any discussion, any comments on what we've read so far? I'm not going to ask for any votes, but an opportunity to discuss it while it's fresh in our minds on anything we've heard thus far. Nothing?
I just want to say that I think it's important that we get community involvement in a lot of these projects. And it's been nice this evening to see that we have had community involvement. That's something that doesn't seem to get pushed in town, doesn't get the publicity that it should. There are a lot of people working very hard to make this town a success. And I wish that somehow or other, there should be more acceptance of that and more notification of it.
I don't think Shangri-La, and at the point it's at, would be where it is without Carol.
No.
If it wasn't for her, I don't think it would have gotten off the ground. Totally.
No,
Well, she's a ball of energy, ain't she?
that's great.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
I like her attitude. She doesn't take no.
I like that.
Yes, Alan?
If you go back a couple articles, the one that has to do with the MS4 is what it is, and the stormwater drain. That's because we had the EPA audit about last week. And they basically tapped us and said, you have to do these things. So those articles are there because EPA said we have to have this place, we don't have a bylaw for enforcement of people dumping into the stormwater drains. But we also have some issues as far as the MS4 program that the federal government bodies. So those articles are forced on us.
What article is that, Alan?
21, Alan?
Yeah, the illicit
Pieces.
water.
Derek would have submitted that at the last minute, because that just came up last week. One of them has to do with-
Stormwater and waste discharge?
Yeah, one of them has to do with stormwater discharge for enforcement, and the other piece is there to comply with the city EPA rules as far as coming up with money to do, you know, the actual stormwater.
22 and
management.
23.
You read, I think you read it toward the end, it was like.
Yeah, it's 22 and 23.
Yeah.
No, 21 and 22. 23 is plastic bag.
21 is the authorized borrowing for NCWTT.
22, establish a stormwater management and
Oh.
illicit discharge bylaw.
Yeah, there should be two parts to, there's one part that, Eric put that in two pieces. I'm not sure what's under one there, or whether you have two separate pieces. But just so you understand, that's.
Okay, 21 and 22.
We're
21 and
down to
22.
the EPA to do this.
Now, who took the action, because obviously it didn't come from the water committee, the sewer commissioners.
This has nothing to do with sewer commissioners technically.
No, it's not on this list. Okay. Oh,
21 and 22.
21 and 22.
Yeah.
Stormwater management is actually under municipal maintenance.
Mhm.
Which one? 21, I just read it. 21 is just the loan for septic. It doesn't say anything about any of that water, Dave.
I think on that list,
We're missing
And I
one.
gave you, yeah.
We are.
We're missing one. 'cause
No, at the
22.
end,
21 is
yeah.
that loan program.
Right, 22 is the one that is not on our list.
Yeah,
Okay, so,
I'll
that's-
add
so it should
that.
be 22, 23, and 24. 24
Yeah.
would be the bags. Oh, yeah, it is right there,
Yeah.
Dave.
Right.
All right, on this list, it's not here.
So,
So it's 22 and 23 is what we need.
yep,
24 is the bags.
right.
This 21's nothing.
I'd like to, if you don't mind, when you're talking about the bag reduction, there were 2 pages that failed to get sent to any of the boards except for the selectmen. And that was the definition, the actual act.
That's what the
So,
lady said.
and so if you'd like, I can forward what our office administrator sent to the BOS, so you can see the chain of it. You can have that for background information. It's not incomplete, really. It's all there. It was something that the Sierra Club designed. Other towns have already accepted it, so it's been passed through the, I don't know if it would be the legislature.
I believe we have copies of everything that she had submitted, including, do people have copies of the signature sheets?
Well, no, there's 2 other sheets that didn't
No, but I mean, that would
come
mean the entire package that she had.
Well, let's get it.
Let's get it.
Let's get it, Jim,
You
okay.
don't have that, I don't believe, because it didn't come the first time, and I had to speak with the office administrator. She resent it, but only to the selectmen. Did you get it, Claire?
I did. I did.
She may have sent it to me after I left today, so I'll look in the morning.
So it's just important to have, because it's pretty solid, and whether the community's gonna accept it or not, well, that's you don't want to get paid back. You know,
If it passes, I'm
it's good information to have, to see that it's probably something that would stand review of the state.
The only issue could be, Jim, if anybody, is that whatever the article is written, she has to make sure, I explained to you when I came in earlier, everything's gotta be in the article of what you wanna do.
And it's
Because
not.
there's different bag mills, there's all kinds of things, and they've been very difficult when these get passed and then they get blown out. You can't just say we're gonna ban plastic bags, because the KGB not accept that. We've been
Do you have
involved.
the definitions there?
I do, but the issue is, Jim, that the way the article is written, it does not include those. Although it was submitted, the way it was written, it does not include the definitions.
All right.
My opinion is,
Now, our town attorney in discussion said, sometimes it's too much in there. So it's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, we didn't get that at all.
Huh?
Our package didn't contain that.
Didn't have the bag review?
No.
So it's kind of tough to make decisions without the information. So-
Well, not only that,
You said
is
you had
that going to be,
I said I will look.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did, she may have sent it after I left today,
Yeah.
but I'll look in the morning and forward it.
I'll
Jim,
forward it.
if you have it, why don't you send it to Kelly?
Yeah, you could send it to me too.
Okay, Kelly Barrasso?
Yes,
but irrespective of where it is, if it's not included in the warrant, it can't go on the floor. Am I correct?
It
Maybe
becomes a
some-
matter of scope of what,
Yeah.
the way the article is written, it does not refer to, back to anything. So then it becomes a matter of scope as to whether, how much can be added to make the article work.
Hmm.
It does mention it in the page. You had one typewritten page of what you received?
But Jim,
So
it just says.
No, it doesn't make any difference, Jim.
It
But
just
it
says-
references that.
it doesn't make any difference, it has to be in the warrant article.
Well, I don't think that was the fault of the petition that didn't get there.
It could be,
That's what I'm saying.
Clerk makes a decision, but I think it
Yeah.
possibly could be at least presented on the floor, she could change it,
All right.
change the article.
Yeah,
add it as an amendment.
As long as it doesn't outside the scope of what's.
and that's Claire's decision.
If you follow me, though, you shouldn't punish the petitioner
It's
for an oversight of either the selectman's office or the selectmen.
There wasn't an oversight, we got everything, it's just the way the article was written. It was not written that it referred back to either Mass General Law or the definition. So the article itself has some issues.
It's the real, it's
attorney
unfortunately,
said sorry.
it's a problem of a citizen's petition because they don't have the availability or the expertise of a lawyer or anybody else. And people want to do these, I recommend they get themselves some kind of legal expert. You can call the Attorney General's office and they'll even help you a lot of times. But when you have someone write something and they've never done it before, it's really easy to mess up. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, a town council might look at it and say it's not going to pass.
My town council looked at it, all right?
We've had no discussion on any of the articles, so the Board of Selectmen, as the Board of Selectmen, I can't represent any article because we've had no discussion whatsoever. Town council has made no discussion because we haven't voted yes or no on it. So I can't say anything, to the finance committee until we actually do our vote yes or no. But the bottom line is, this has been a common occurrence that happens all the time with citizens petition articles. And everybody in this board has seen it over the last 3 or 4 years. We have articles come in, and there's a defect somewhere, we can't fix it because we're not allowed to.
Yeah, and we've run this before, and unfortunately, the petitioner gets so frustrated to say, if you could only help me, but no, we can't do that, because you could be running at cross purposes. You as selectman or someone in town government could be proposing something that's opposite. The petitioner and the town council works for the town, not the petitioner.
I think it's a defect in the system that somehow should be repaired, because if someone wants to write an article, a petition, they should have some assistance somewhere, so it meets the law.
We have the
Well,
charter
it can
review
also
coming
always
up,
be
Alan, we
amended,
can take care of it.
It can always be amended on the floor.
Well, again, I don't think the petitioner should be punished for appropriate material that was submitted not being sent
Well-
to the various groups.
But we're only
As a
speculating,
package.
we're only speculating right now, Jim. We just have to find out
Yeah.
what was originally submitted, how it got separated, if it did. If
Well,
it
it's
didn't,
actually in
then
the
it's
email.
unfortunate.
In the email chain.
Yeah,
But what it is, what we're talking about is actually the wording of the article as put forth by the petitioner. And is it inclusive enough to make a legitimate law in the town or not?
and that's the
And
moderator's
that's the-
decision is whether it would be.
And how it gets amended on town
Attached
meeting
to what
floor,
you got.
and whether it can be amended, depends upon how much change has to be made.
No, there's no way to suspend the rules to expand the scope.
So,
Not if it's outside the scope.
Yeah.
Well,
It's unfortunate, but we'll address, Claire, it's all in your ballpark.
It's too new of a
You got those
So
chickens
big
all taken
town
care of, so
having
now we
trouble
know,
with it.
you got time on your
It
hands.
needs a couple more years before a town like ours will fix up something like that.
Anything else?
Might not matter, the state of Massachusetts
Oh, yeah, should be
passing
one-
aggressive.
Oh, indeed, before the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, they're in a 2-year session,
It does not.
so it takes them a
I
while.
wish I was in that business. I mean,
It's coming one way.
it's
It
amazing.
is.
Old, new, young, I mean, every walk of life
Any other concerns?
has those black.
Here, we have a meeting scheduled for next Wednesday.
It's amazing.
right?
Today's the 11th, so that would be the 18th.
But you don't, not when you do a warrant article.
Yes, Alan?
I think, I'm not positive, I think the selectmen will be discussing, I think next week's starting to discuss the articles and voting, favorable action, whatever wording we're gonna use, just so you know.
Yes. What's about time you guys eat something?
You normally wait until we do something that you do.
I'll be there with a wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, that was wonderful yesterday.
The timing was impeccable.
Also, you need to put on your agenda assigning one of the members to
Typewritten
the
page.
police study, the police building study group.
Yes, I told,
Legally, this
I
is.
replied today, as chairman, I'm on, of course, and I recommended at-large for David.
Well, but David's also on the capital planning, and the capital planning committee has to submit a member too. So you have to see who they're gonna put. I'm gonna personally ask Charlie Kruger.
Be able to load it up?
Because Charlie's been involved building several fire stations in the war.
Right.
So I think with the idea, he's also involved in one of ours.
That's an explanation.
Thank you.
We need somebody else for that right now.
Thank you.
I have submitted an
I know
application.
you have, I just,
Just put an application in.
Mhm.
would like to get that fast tracked while we have monies more or less sitting here.
Yes.
Anything else, gentlemen?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote. Thank you very much.
But it has not.
next Wednesday, see you gentlemen? Yes.